Listen, before we begin, I have to put this up here right in front so that there's no misunderstanding. Nothing presented in this recorded recovery seminar is intended to be, listen, nor does it constitute diagnosis of anything of any kind or medical anything of any kind. I don't do that. Others do that. What I do is present some things from another way of looking at them to see if they can be of some help. I put another spin, another angle outside the box for those who struggle. So I'm reaching out. I'm reaching out to help them. See if in this that I presented to those in attendance on that day and how I presented it to them, you too can find some new and helpful understanding. This is an outside-the-box, another approach recovery seminar for those alcoholics and addicts who struggle with their sobriety, many of whom have relapsed again, and yes, yet again. See if it helps you. Here's the seminar. The name of this seminar is Changing the Image in the Mirror. You live based on that image that you have of yourself. That's your self-worth, your self-esteem. You know, there's people who you go to the supermarket and you see yourself the same way as you saw yourself in the bathroom mirror. You have people with such poor self-image of themselves because of things happened and things said to them. Those words get inside. The little boy whose father yelled at him, "When I yell shit, you come out on a shovel." No one in the neighborhood knew he said that to the boy, but they wondered why the boy was reticent, why he was so withdrawn, because the image that he had of himself, he was worthless. So he was fearful then of rejection, and he couldn't interface because of that. And the image then that he had of himself was that he was worthless and no good. And when you have that image of, how many people have such an image of themselves here? Let me see some hands. Look at this. Look at this. And so the image that you have of yourself is caused by the information or the data inside of you that's caused just by life. You look at the world we live in, where the question is, what kind of clothes do you wear? Where do you buy your clothes? What neighborhood do you live in? What kind of car do you drive? And people develop, listen to this, an image of themselves based on that. In a highly competitive society, in a social structure where all those things around us are more meaningful than the heart of a human being, or the caring ability, or the compassion of the human being. And you find people who really have something worthwhile, but because of those things, just listen, the image that they have of themselves is poor. Now, many, because of that image, that's an excuse. No, reasons why people use. That young man whose father used to yell at him, "When I yell shit, you come out on a shovel," he was trapped inside of himself, you know. He couldn't go nowhere. When you think that's who you are, where are you going to go with that? Walls do not a prison make. Lack of options makes the prison. So until that image that he had of himself, the image in the mirror that he had of himself, until that was changed, he lived in that state of quiet desperation. He's trapped. He couldn't get out of it. And he felt shame. How many people here in this seminar now have guilt? Let me see hands. Look at this, every hand in a place. Watch where this is going. The guilt you have produces shame. Guilt produces shame. Guilt is I made a mistake. Shame is I am a mistake. Nobody sitting here is a mistake. So when you have that shame inside, you feel that shame and you walk bent. You walk less than. You don't walk straight up in the sunlight because the guilt and the shame bows you over. And you look in the mirror and you don't like what you see in the mirror. Mirror, mirror on the wall, watch. The mirror isn't there at all. The shame in the mirror that I see, it's not in the mirror. The shame is in me. It's inside the person. And you look at your face in the bathroom mirror, that's not the mirror I'm talking about. I'm talking about the mirror inside, where you see yourself, how you see yourself, based on the image you have of yourself, and you see that everywhere you go. Whether you go to the supermarket or you're driving in your car, the image stays within you. Mirror, mirror on the wall. The mirror isn't there at all, huh? The shame in the mirror that I see, it's not in the mirror, the shame is in me. And if that shame is not dealt with, and when I say dealt with, it's nothing you by yourself are going to deal with or take out. That has to be done in some framework of treatment, whether it's an alcohol and drug treatment facility, or even after you come out of such a facility. In AA or NA, they help but in therapy with qualified healthcare professionals who can look at what is the shame going on. What is it about you that you're ashamed of? That isn't opened up and cared for. You seek the alcohol and drugs to escape a feeling inside. The feeling of shame and the feeling of guilt for things isn't always so readily identifiable. Sometimes the feeling works like this. There's something wrong with something, and I got to do something about something. How many ever felt that? We grow up the little boy whose mother called him stupid. What's wrong with that, Rev? Stupid. It was at a time when his mama had died, and his stepmother called him stupid. He was a little boy. Stupid, 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 stupid. The boy grew up with shame inside. How many can see that? Mirror, mirror on the wall. The mirror isn't there at all. The little stupid in the mirror that I see, he's not in the mirror, he's in me. If that's not dealt with, listen, in our lives, we're going to carry that with us, and whether you resort to alcohol or drugs, just listen, that's one escape from it. The other thing is you live through life with that shame bent, I said. You never quite come into the fullness of your own life. And it's subtle. It's really subtle. And sometimes, you know, when they say the monkey on your back, sometimes the monkey on your back isn't the alcohol or drugs. Sometimes the monkey on your back is the guilt and shame. And you carry that on your back, you use to make it go away. Mirror, mirror on the wall. Once you begin to deal with that, I thought in my own life, because of the things that went wrong and the low self-esteem that I had, low, you have no idea, and an introvert, and so I thought I was a failure because I had failed. And a man said to me, "You're not a failure." He said, "You're another guy who failed." And I had to defend my failureship. I said, "But I failed a lot." He said, "Yeah, but then you're a person who failed a lot. Everybody fails at something," he said to me. "And everybody will fail at something." But my self-esteem and my self-worth was so low, I said to him, I said, "But I screwed up, man. I screwed up a lot." He said, "That doesn't make you a screw-up, and failing doesn't make you a failure." You screw up, you're another person who screwed up. Everybody has, and everybody will at something. I never knew that. I never knew that. But I tell you, when he spoke those words to me, I took them in. And the next time I looked in the mirror, I didn't see a man who was a failure. And I didn't see a man who was a screw-up. I saw a man who screwed up. I saw a man who failed. And I began to seek help, to take a look at those things. So if you don't seek that help, you still see yourself that way. You don't want to look in the mirror. You don't want people to, listen, to take your picture. You live like that. You see where that goes. And it's necessary to change that. It's just like the story of the farmer who found an egg in the field. And he brought the egg in and he put it in a chicken coop. And the chickens hatched the egg. And there was an eagle. And the eagle lived in the chicken yard all its life. He ate corn with the chickens. And one day in his latter years, he looked up in the sky, and there was an eagle up there. And he said to the chicken next to him, he says, "Who's that?" Chicken said, "That's the eagle. He's the king of all birds. He belongs to the wind and the sky. We're chickens." And the old eagle lived and died thinking he was a chicken. Watch. And someone said, "What are you talking about? All he would have had to do was look in the mirror. He'd see he was an eagle. Mirror, mirror on the wall. The mirror isn't there at all. The chicken in the mirror that I see, it's not in the mirror. The chicken is what? In me." You go to the planetarium. You look up there. Wow, look at all those stars. There's no stars up there. It's a white ceiling. Everything you see up there is projected from the ball in the center. If you want to change what's up there, you have to change the information in the ball that projects that up there. So the same with you. And I still believe in people use alcohol and drugs to escape lots of things. And if you don't clean it out, so mirror, mirror on the wall. The mirror isn't there at all. The shame in the mirror that I see, it's in the ball, inside of me. And as you get into treatment, various kinds, helped by qualified healthcare professionals, and you begin to examine that and the discomfort and the uncomfortability and the things that are going on inside, that image, the information in you changes. And as the image changes, what you see in the mirror changes. The image of yourself is altered. And especially where you in the world, the drug world today, the young girl learned, she said when she grew up, she thought she was going to grow up to be somebody's bitch and somebody's hoe. That's what she learned growing up. And that's the image she had of herself. And she was trapped in it until she got into some effective treatment and she heard some things. What I saw, I learned. What I learned, I did. What I did, I became. What I became produced this. And she began to realize, maybe I'm not to be someone's bitch and someone's hoe. Maybe there's more. Maybe I can be somebody's lady. Maybe I can be in an arena where men show me respect instead of degrading me. And as she began to hear that, and as she began to look at that and listen to that, the image of herself began to change. Mirror, mirror on the wall. The mirror isn't there at all. Never mind the shame in the mirror that I see, huh? It's not in the mirror, the shame is in me. Mirror, mirror on the wall, maybe I can be somebody after all. As I began to look at that, as I began and she began to see, she says to herself, you can say to yourself, but you sitting there like a lump, you go find help if that's what bugs you out. You go take a look at yourself and you say, if I look in the mirror, I don't like what I see. Am I have to wear masks all my life and hide myself from myself? Maybe you got to take a look at it. And you begin to change when the information inside is altered and it's different, and you see yourself in a different way. And you begin to see you have potential, you have worth. There is something there. Now stop right here. This is for the people who want there to be something there. You have some people, if you say this and you talk about it, they are annoyed because that means they have to do something. And they are offended that they need to do something. Help me, they say. Translated, do it for me. Don't work that way, baby. You do it. But there's help available, lots of help to change that image in the mirror. for the young woman who grew up and was a sexual assault and molested, young men molested as children, and the image they have of themselves. And if that image isn't changed, what are they going to do? I'll tell you, some of the stuff that we feel about ourselves and some of the ways we look at ourselves, how about willing to raise their hand? They almost can't look at themselves the way they look at themselves. Anybody on that? Yeah. And it's all in the face. You see yourself, the face in the mirror. What are the words? The words are shame face. That's how you see yourself. The shame is in your face. That's why you don't want to look at your face in the mirror. You want to scratch your face out on a photograph. The shame is seen in a person's face because that's how you recognize yourself. And whatever's hiding behind the mask, whatever's hiding in there that gives you that shame, you see it in you. You identify yourself. And in the reflection of your face, you see all these things. You, quote, see them. They run by you. They're brought up into the circuitry, and I did this, and I'm that, and now I did this. And it all piles up, man. Shame face. They don't take you down to the, you get mugged, they don't take you to the police station and say, check these elbow shots. I don't recognize them elbows. Well, check the knee shots. What do they say? Check the what? Mug shots, right? Because the face is where you see yourself. That's where the shame is. Shame face, that's the base looking in the mirror. When you say, I don't like to see people take pictures of me. But that's where the shame is. Mirror, mirror on the wall. That shame does not come out, listen to me, in a seminar like this. What this seminar does for people who listen and can get something out of it, it illuminates the issue, illuminates it. And how that shame is taken out and the new self-image built. That's done a little at a time in treatment of various kinds. And I will tell you openly, for me, in therapy for several years to deal with that image that I had of myself. It was a little at a time. There was no quick fix. There was a sure fix and is a sure fix if you're willing to do it. Little drops of water and little grains of sand make a mighty ocean and a very pleasant land. And it was little bits of understanding and little bits of new self-imagery and a little bit here and a little bit there and a little there and a little somewhere else. But I wanted that. I was leaning towards that because the pain of the low self-image, the pain of that, I couldn't stand it. But I knew when I used, or drank, the pain went away. How many can see this? Let me see hands. Come on. Pain went away, didn't it? But as I began to look at it, I was able to say initially, mirror, mirror on the wall, I can be somebody after all. And in time, it was mirror, mirror on the wall, I am somebody after all. I had remade the image of who I was. It's called the process of becoming. And you play the major role in who you want to become. How it happens to change the image in the mirror is through a process called the power of influence. And it was the power of influence that caused the little girl to feel worthless. The power of influence called that young boy with a higher than average IQ, who was always called stupid, to feel what he was and worthless. And he failed in school. And I was there when the first time his mama called the cops on him because he acted out. But I tell you, you can change that, the process of becoming. What power of influence do you want to get under? You look at it. The girl was under the power of influence. She thought she was somebody's bitch in a hole. She wound up under a power of influence, and the story goes, she heard me talk some years back in some seminars, and she thought about it, and she said, wow, the process of becoming, she said, I can, with the right power of influence, become something I never knew I could be. She wanted that. She didn't want to use the substance. She wanted out of that whole environment. And so she knew that she had to get in another power of influence where when she looked in the mirror, she didn't see who she used to be. She began to see who she was becoming. And you see it? Who she was becoming. But she did it. She heard it. The things that I said, changing the image in the mirror. What? And this is, I'm saying, this is good for people on Main Street, USA, behind blue and green doors. The things I said and how I said that ignited a spark in her heart. Ignited the spark for change. Ignited the spark for change. And she said, with that, see, when it's all dark in a room, it's all dark. And all you see is darkness, it's black. But if I have a jar over here with a firefly in the jar, the second the firefly sparks, there's something else. And that's what happened when I spoke. In her life, for the first time, there was something else. There was something else. She saw a reflection of what she could be in the words that I spoke. And she could look in the mirror and say, mirror, mirror on the wall, after what that man said, after what he said, after what he showed me, mirror, mirror on the wall, I can be somebody after all. And that was the spark. And because she didn't want to just sit there, she said to herself, if I get help, he said, if I move on this thing, out of her desire she did. Mirror, mirror on the wall, I am somebody after all. And the young man, who they called him stupid. But those were people where the spark was ignited, and the little boy whose father said to him, when I yell shit, you come out on a shovel, and turned out to be so poorly frameworked with his lack and low self-image, but went and got help. And those were people who wanted to come out of it, and they saw an opportunity to change this image. Did you get something out of this? Wow, thank you very much. Whoa. Hey, if you found this outside the box recovery seminar that I just presented helpful to you, then share it. Share it with friends on Facebook and on Twitter and on your other social media accounts. You may help someone else's recovery by doing that. Well, that's the seminar. It's important, however, to understand that it's not offered as a replacement for your participation in the treatment and self-help programs that are available. It's offered to you for the purpose of opening new understanding and to encourage you to get into the appropriate self-help and treatment programs that are available for your life. Thanks for listening, and I'll see you around. I'll see you around.